Imagine waking up in your living room and realizing your sofa is in one country while your kitchen table is in another. Sounds impossible? Well, there is a house where this is literally true. A borderline runs straight through the middle of it, splitting families, taxes, and even dinner parties in two. But how can a single house belong to two nations at the same time? And what happens if someone commits a crime in the living room but escapes into the kitchen? Stay with me, because once you hear the story of this house, you'll never look at borders the same way again. Welcome to Baarle, a quiet little town straddling the Netherlands and Belgium. At first glance, it looks like any other European village: cobblestone streets, cozy cafes, bicycles everywhere. But once you take a closer look, you'll notice white crosses painted across sidewalks, streets, and yes, even buildings. These white crosses, they mark the international border, and it doesn't politely weave around houses or neighborhoods. Instead, it cuts straight through them, creating one of the most bizarre geopolitical puzzles in the world. One house in Baarle became world famous because its front door was in Belgium, while its living room was in the Netherlands. The family inside had to deal with a situation almost no one else on Earth has ever faced. Think about it. If they wanted to eat breakfast at their Belgian kitchen table, technically they were subject to Belgian laws. But when they stepped into the living room, they instantly crossed into Dutch territory. And the crazy part? Even local rules, like store opening times, property taxes, and even electricity regulations, depended on which side of the house you were standing in. This bizarre situation got so complicated that governments had to come up with a rule. A house officially belongs to whichever country its front door is in. So if your front door opened on the Belgian side, congratulations, you were Belgian. But if you decided to brick that door up and open a new one on the Dutch side, just like that, you switched nations without moving an inch. And yes, people actually did this. Some even rebuilt their front doors just to take advantage of better laws, taxes, or even shop regulations. Now, imagine the practical challenges. What if you called the police? Which country's officers would show up? If you wanted Wi-Fi or utilities, which country provided them? And most bizarrely, what about pandemic restrictions, when each country had different rules? During lockdowns, it wasn't uncommon for one part of a street to be open while the other side, literally just a few steps away, was closed. But the big question is, why on earth does this exist at all? It all goes back to medieval times. The land was divided up between dukes, lords, and nobles who traded territory like playing cards. Over centuries, treaties and border deals piled up into an incredibly complex map of little enclaves and exclaves. By the time modern countries emerged, the mess was too tangled to fix. So instead of redrawing the map, they simply left it as it was, resulting in a border so confusing it looks like spaghetti spilled onto a map. Today, Barl has embraced its weirdness. Tourists come from around the world just to step across the border dozens of times in a single afternoon. Cafes proudly place tables so you can sip coffee in one country while your friend sips theirs in another. And that house, split right down the middle, has become a symbol of how absurd and yet fascinating borders can be. So next time you think borders are just lines on a map, remember this. In Barlow, those lines run under beds, across dining tables, and even between couples watching TV. It's proof that human history doesn't always follow straight lines. Sometimes it leaves us with a house where every step you take is a new stamp in your mental passport. And here's the most mind-bending fact. Baarle isn't the only place with split houses. From villages divided by rivers to families split by political lines, there are more of these strange border stories waiting to be told. But this house, the one where breakfast is Belgian and bedtime is Dutch, remains the most legendary of them all.